Let me kind of take care of the bona fides here. Major Josh Jabin is joining us this morning. He, of course, is USMC retired. He's the chief operating officer of one of the most remarkable and growing organizations in America, the Travis Manion Foundation. For more information, go to travismanion.org, or to learn more about the Honor Project, go to travismanion.org/the Honor Project. So thrilled to have you. Welcome back, Josh. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for inviting me back.
Hey, Josh, let me ask you this. I don't know if you were listening to our previous conversation or not, so I'll give you an overview. This is separate from what we're going to talk about the Travis Manion Foundation. But with all of everything you've done and seen and your service, we were talking about how we're different versions of ourselves based on our environment. I was jokingly brought it up because I said I was making a road trip home, and I jokingly said, when I walk into Buc-ee's, I enter like a princess. When I walk into a sketchy gas station off the side of the road, I'm like a common criminal, like with my hoodie over my head. But then the joke became like, whether I'm at work or at parties or with my family or going to my daughter's school or whatever it be, and then entering all the places and things you've seen. Do you find yourself, did you ever, or do you ever have to be so aware of which environment you are, which version of you that you are, whether that be in a military perspective or, a more corporate work environment, here on the radio, for your family, et cetera? Does that make sense?
It all makes sense. Super interesting conversation. I'm going to start off by saying I was listening to the previous segments, and I'm so glad you weren't going to ask me about shaving my armpits and wearing sequin dresses. Or
no, that's next. That's next.
No. Keep it fair. Keep it fair. Go ahead,
yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, I think I served 20 years in the Marine Corps. Josh, the Marine, had to act differently than Josh, the father of 3 young daughters, and Josh, the community leader. When I'm, big part of Travis Manion Foundation. I'm a mentor for young adults, talking about character and leadership. I am definitely a different person in that room than I am with my Marines, and I think that's appropriate. But I agree with how you were describing it. You're still the same person. It's just being situation dependent.
Well, and let me just final thought on that, because the idea of, there's a lot of we'll call them militant fathers, is there, like, that's something that's real. Someone like yourself who has served so long, and you have to be a certain way for survival. You have to have a certain demeanor. And then there's, I have a dear friend who was served for quite some time, and he's pretty militant at home with his kids, they are so disciplined, but he also has such a loving side. Like, he loves to he lives for being a dad and going to soccer and working out on their farm together. He lives for it, and he's able to merge those two worlds. But I would guess, I did not serve in the military, so I don't know, but it's like I would guess, do you take all the good parts of that and try to give it to your daughters while also still being an emotional father and present for them?
That's a great way to describe it, right? Taking all the best parts of what I learned from my time in the Marine Corps and applying it to the different roles that I have in my life, right? My character doesn't change. Who I am doesn't change. And you're right. I expect my daughters to be disciplined. I talk to them about it differently than I talk to the Marines about that. Right? I hold them accountable. That looks different than holding Marines accountable. But yeah, who I am doesn't change, but how I speak in different situations absolutely does. So yeah, I think the way you guys are describing it is spot on.
Love it.
The Travis Manion Foundation's mission is to empower veterans and families of fallen heroes to develop character in future generations. Like I said, that's a very, very clear mission statement, and kind of sets up what we're going to talk about next. I know you've been on the show with us before. I know we've talked, but I want you to kind of unpack the mission statement, that foundational manifesto sentence, and kind of talk about the meaning behind it, because the clarity of the meaning is there, but there's a specificity I want you to dig into if you dig where I'm coming from.
Absolutely. And we break our mission statement up into 3 parts, really. We empower veterans and families of the fallen. So that's first and foremost. Our job is to make sure that we are investing in those veterans and families of the fallen. We have leadership courses. We have different trainings. We take surviving family members on 1-week expeditions to serve and honor their fallen heroes. So we have all different ways that we invest in those veterans and families of the fallen. first and foremost for their own benefit, to make sure that we're improving their mental health and well-being, and that they're taking all the best things that they learned from their military experience, like we were just talking about, and applying it to the different leadership roles that they have in their life. So the second part is developing character in future generations, right? Taking those veterans and families of the fallen, once they're in a good place in their own lives, and we've trained them and we've set them up for success, they take all of those great attributes that the military taught us, and then they use that to mentor young adults about character and leadership. And then we say, as a result, the third part is about strengthening communities, right? So if you got veterans and families of the fallen who are thriving in their own personal lives, have successfully transitioned from the military, they're developing character in the next generation. Those two groups come together, pull in the rest of the community, and go out and do positive things to strengthen the community. That could be athletic events, that could be service events, but the idea is to take all the best of what we had in the military and bring it to the communities that we live in around the country.
I love what you're saying. You take this. I mean, it was a perfect transition from what we were talking about. Take the best of it, and then it's this ripple effect that what we put out into the world. And I think seeing members of the military, like you said, getting involved in the community and the community getting involved with military, vice versa. It's such a no-brainer that just shows we're in this hand in hand together. And I think it's such a full circle moment. It's why I love some of like the citizen driver program. It's a program in the trucking industry that recognizes truck drivers for doing extraordinary acts out on the road. So many of our truck drivers are veterans themselves. It goes hand in hand. And I think that program is great. First of all, Josh, so you know, they name 2 to 5 or so truck drivers a year, the citizen driver, and they get to pick a truck stop and it gets named after them forever. That's like their second home. So cool, right? But anyway, that is same idea, what you're talking about. I mean, the image programs, which sometimes, most of the time, are the last thing to get funded or get attention in any industry. And I think that's so backwards, because the moment we see our members of the military, our truck drivers, our service workers, the minute we see them as humans, it changes the game. Do you feel that? Is that a big driving force behind the foundation?
Yeah, absolutely. Veterans, you know, it's so interesting how our society views people who have served in the military, right? You have this culture that people are either heroes or they're in crisis, and there's like no in between. And the truth is that most veterans, the vast majority of veterans, go on to do great things in all the different industries that we need out there. The problem is a lot of times you just don't even know it. So, you know, I think it's really important for veterans to put their hand up and tell people, I'm a veteran. I served in the military. I think by nature we're all very humble. You know, in the military you don't want to stand out. You're just one teammate in a larger unit, and it's not all about me. So I think veterans tend to be very humble and not even talk about it. But yeah, whether they're truck drivers, whether they're teachers, coaches, whether they're all the roles that we need, you know, it's so important to put them out there, and most importantly, to serve as those role models, right, for our next generation to really look up to somebody who has served and continues to serve and make their community a better place.
I wanted to kind of follow that up with something, and it's a really kind of basic sort of point A to point B question. Does it then behoove veterans to say, like you mentioned teachers, okay, in order to be a teacher, not only are you having to deal with, you know, the children that you teach in the classroom, but there is, of course, the homework that you have to review at the end of the day, the parent-teacher meetings you have to attend to make sure they're doing okay. Often the cafeteria duty, the recess duty, you end up being a coach or an instructor for some after-school kind of thing. And I was wondering if you feel like veterans, when they make the move from the veteran space into the private sector or the public sector, if they do enough to kind of remind people that we are just living our lives, raising 3 girls, you know, raising money for a foundation, doing our daily thing. And will that go a long way telling those stories, not just the stories of their service, but the stories of them as functioning citizens of the United States of America, to remind them, we are you. We have just made a decision for a point of our lives to serve the country in the way that we chose to serve it, and now we are back to being a part of the fabric of this life, so that we're not just exceptional, but we are ordinary in the best way that ordinary means. One of you. Does that make sense?
I think that that's so important. One of the one of the stories I always tell about Travis Manion. Travis and I were teammates on the wrestling team. We served together in the Marine Corps. Travis paid the ultimate sacrifice in 2007. He's our inspiration. He's our namesake. And one of the things that I always tell the young adults when I'm speaking about Travis is that he was all about being big in the little things. And by being big in those little things, he was ready on that day, April 29th, 2007, when he had to be really big in the big moment to pull his injured teammates to safety and ultimately sacrifice his life. But it wasn't just one day where he flipped that switch and he was this hero. It was all those little things that he did along the way, starting at a very young age, and we have lots of examples of these. So you don't need to have this big role. You don't need to have this big title. It's all those everyday things. You know, his famous words, the 6 words that he said before he went back for his second, what would be his final tour of duty, when asked why he had to go back, was, "If not me, then who?" And we use that as our ethos, and what that really means is living a life to serve others. And in all those small ways. Yes, it's the teachers. I was a teacher for 4 years, very proud to do that role. And, you know, it's all those everyday things, those if not me, then who moments that make an impact. And if we all do that, if we all have those little moments, those daily moments, it's, you know, for my kids, I have 3 very young daughters. It's taking your plate or clearing the table, helping mom and dad out, or saying a kind word to somebody, or, you know, all these little things that seem insignificant. But if we all do them consistently, they add up to big things. So yes, absolutely. I think it's all those roles that veterans play.
Yeah, it's that ripple effect again we're talking about. Yeah. And if you're okay with it, Josh, we do have somebody, a caller on the line that wants to shout out to you and give you a little hey ho. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. A big salute, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Great to talk to you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm retired disabled Army, so no offense, Jarhead, but, you know, us dog faces were there, too.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming, didn't you?
It's too easy, Chris. Too easy.
I have spent my entire life, since I was a young person, serving. I was a Boy Scout. I was a explorer for the fire department, a police department. I was a volunteer fire department on 2 different departments. I was a storm spotter for over 40 years. I drive a semi now, so I serve. And all of that experience, it came from, you know, being around people that were disciplined, that were mentors. You know, they helped me become better than what I was, you know, to begin with. And that's what I try to do in reverse now. I have people that I talk to that are a lot younger. I'm 65. And I want to make sure that they are the best versions of themselves. So your program is right in line with what I have been doing my entire life in one form or another. And I applaud you for doing that. We need a lot more involvement in that situation.
I hope that you go to our website, Chris, and you sign up to become one of our veteran mentors. I think you would love using our curriculum to do that on a more regular basis in an official setting, although it sounds like you're already doing that every day in an informal setting. So first of all, thank you for your service, your military service. Thank you for all those different ways that you continue to serve.
Well, thank you. And now that I know about you, I will definitely visit your website and we'll go from there on it. But I had to call in when I heard everything that you were talking about. You know, I absolutely love that. And all of us veterans, we're a family.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Chris,
yes, we need more people like you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, I just want to say thank you for the call. And I think you just proved the point exactly of what I was saying. I don't believe you were calling in to brag by any means. You're calling in to say, here's what I do. That's why we're here on this earth. And so I love that this is what I'm talking about, the image programs, the image conversations, the putting ourselves out there, just to say, I'm here to help you. How can you help me as well? It's not one-sided. And so I really appreciate you sharing, and thank you as well for your service and for the call, and keep sharing, keep listening. We value you. Thank you so much, Chris.
Our good friend is joining us this morning. I want you guys to head on over to travismanion.org, by the way. And we were talking about developing character, and you did mention curriculum. Josh Jabin, by the way, joins us. Major Josh Jabin, USMC retired and Chief Operating Officer of the Travis Manion Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about that in regards to helping develop character? Because that actually is something that can be developed. It is not just something that you inherently have. Some people have the possibility of having a great character if they only get a little mentorship and guidance correctly.
Totally agree. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised, right? And we definitely can improve on our character strengths. I mean, I can tell you my own life. Before I joined the military, I did a lot of things when I was younger that I'm not proud of today. Like, I made those mistakes.
Same. Let's talk about that next.
Right? I mean, I certainly was not perfect, but then when I joined the military, one of the things that we pride ourselves in, like Chris was just saying, is that we have great mentors, and then as we get a little experience under us, we pride ourselves in becoming mentors. And I was blessed for many years with some great mentors, and I can tell you that I definitely strengthened my character over time. And that's my goal now, is to be that good role model for other people and help them strengthen their character strengths.
I also feel like, Jim, by the way, I feel like he's bearing the lead, the Josh here. He's very #balance, because on the travismanion.org page, when you go to Josh's page here, it says under his top character strengths, humor, social intelligence, and hope. And that is a amazing #balance, specifically social intelligence, because you know what most people don't have? Social intelligence. And we're working on it by talking about it and bringing it to light. So thank you for having it, kind sir.
And that actually, I think, is a great example of how we started this conversation about being who you are, but knowing how to apply it in different situations, reading the crowd, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and by the way, the reason that stuff is there, and you can please correct me if I got this wrong, Josh, but the reason it's there is also, this is not bragging on your part. These are the things that are important to you that you're letting people know you're working on. When you tell people you're good at something or that you have a certain skill or a certain character foundation, you're also inviting people to call you out when you don't live up to those ideals, correct?
I think that's true. I think holding each other accountable is important. I also think it's important for us to first identify our character strengths and then lean into them. I think what often happens in our society, I know I've been guilty of this myself. I was even guilty of this as a leader, is looking at our weaknesses. When I was Second Lieutenant Jabin, can I admit to you the biggest mistake I made? I share this with kids all the time.
Please.
I would look for my Marines. I would look for their weaknesses, and then I would try to put them in position to improve their weaknesses. And to be honest with you, that was not a very good tactic. At some point, I learned that what you really need to do is lean into your strengths, figure out what your team is really good at, and then put them in position to use their strengths. I could practice all day long on the piano, and maybe I'll become marginally better, but I'm never going to become a great piano player or singer, for that matter, right? Or a lot of things. But there are certain things that I'm really good at. And by putting myself in a position where I can leverage those things and to really focus on being the best at those things, I could be really great at those things. And that's the whole idea behind positive psychology, which underpins our programs and understanding your character strengths. Is you got to first understand them and know what they are, and then put yourself in a position to leverage them.
By the way, I'm holding a little piece of slate. It has #The Honor Project with a folded American flag, and on the other side it says, "If not me, then who?" It is sitting at my desk. Lindsay joins me next week for about 3 days on the air here in New Orleans. There is one that is actually sitting at your station, Lindsay, waiting for you to pick up. Tell us about that.
Is it a koozie, or what is it? I'm trying to see what it is.
That's what I want him to do. I want him to actually explain what it is, because it's really neat what they do with these in the last few minutes.
I just dumbed it down by calling it a koozie. Sorry, but I can't tell on your screen what it is.
Yeah, it's just a block, it's just a slate. But tell us about that slate.
Gotcha.
That says travismanion.org at the bottom.
Yeah, so we have chapters around the country in all the major cities that serve together throughout the year. We have 4 focused campaigns, and then the chapters will each do local service projects based on the local needs. But one of those 4 national campaigns that we do is on Memorial Day. It's called the Honor Project. And the way that it started was one of our members was in Arlington National Cemetery during COVID, and she was there visiting her grandfather who's buried at Arlington, and tweeted out, I'm here. If there's anybody that wants me to go visit their loved one, just let me know, and I'll go do it, and I'll take a picture, and I'll send it to you so you know that somebody had visited them on Memorial Day. A lot of people couldn't make it to Arlington that year, and she got overwhelmed with people saying, go visit, my loved one. So she said to us, hey, I think I got something here. There's a lot of people that can't go visit their loved ones on Memorial Day for different reasons, right? For example, one of our teammates lives in San Diego, and her husband was killed. He's in Arlington. So she can't fly back every year to visit him on Memorial Day. And so that's what we do. At the request of family members, we have a network of thousands of volunteers around the country. We have 300,000 members, many of whom serve on Memorial Day. This past year, we had, I think, 60 locations, 60 national cemeteries around the country, and we go visit family members at their request on Memorial Day to go visit their fallen hero.
That's a big deal. We're at Arlington every year, and I remember the first time that I went to Arlington Cemetery, I got to sing there, which was amazing, back in the amphitheater, back when you could do that kind of thing. But then I remember walking through the cemetery after, and just the idea of talking to a Gold Star mother, and she said, this is such a great reminder every time I come out here and see it packed, to remember that even when I'm gone, when she's passed on, other people are going to still keep coming. So I think, once again, sharing these stories, these gentle reminders that we're all in this together. It sounds so basic, guys, but it's equal parts basic and profound. Everybody, please head over to Travis Manion. That's Manion, travismanion.org. Find out how you can get involved more, see the great work that these people are doing. Chief Operating Officer of that said foundation, Joshua Jabin, joins us. Thank you so much for your service and for your time. And I know we'll be talking to you again, sir.
I love talking to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me share our story.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Josh.